Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spiritually Connected with Tanya Lee. I'm your host, Tanya Lee, and today we have a very special guest, Miss Cheryl. Cheryl is an evidential medium and a certified Hay House Tarot and Oracle card reader. She is down to earth, honest, and has a fantastic sense of humor that puts her clients at ease. Cheryl was blessed with the gift of being able to connect with those in spirit, a gift that her grandma passed down to her. Ooh, something in common. Cheryl's focus is to bring forth awareness, comfort, and healing through love with help from spirit. Cheryl believes you are never alone. Spirit walks beside you always. Ah! Welcome to our lovely guest, Miss Cheryl.
Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited that you're on. I mean, I'm super excited about everything, but we've known each other for quite a few years now. And in fact, little known fact to everybody else, we lived maybe 5 minutes away from each other for years.
Mm-hmm.
The sad thing is, I think we only saw each other a handful of times in there. And I think we saw each other more when we lived further away. It's all good. It's all good. Cheryl has actually become a close dear friend of mine as well. And I've had the privilege, and we started together, I've had the privilege of watching her as she evolves in her mediumship and grow stronger and more, so not, how do I say this? Not better, just more in, not even more in tune. I think you've always been in tune. I think it has to be a matter of maybe confidence or something along those lines. But I have watched you, and now I'm so excited for you. You are such a force to be reckoned with. I absolutely love that. Oh, it gives me chills.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, sunflowers of spirit, I'm going to actually ask you, how did that get started?
Well, I am a huge believer in signs, as you know, and a very close friend of mine had passed. And one of the biggest signs that we had was, okay, if I'm on the right path, show me a sunflower. So that's how it started. I wanted to know, okay, am I doing what my soul says I should be doing? And I saw a sunflower. So I was like, okay, not good enough yet. And I went, my husband and I were in the Dominican, and it was Christmas time. And I thought, okay, you know what? There's red and green bows everywhere. I want to see something different. So I'm like, you know what? If this is really what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's not just the sunflower, show me a blue sparkly bow. It has nothing to do with, with Christmas. So we were out at literally a roadside chicken place, which honestly, like for the locals, perfectly fine. The tourists would drive by. And we go to sit down, and I turn around, and on the inside post was honestly the biggest, sparkliest blue bow. And so I thought, okay, there it is. So that's how the name came, was, okay, anytime that I need guidance, I just ask for a sunflower, and they're always there, no matter what.
And that's exactly how I know you. I love that story. Actually, I don't think I've heard that story before. That's how I know you. Anytime I think of sunflowers, I think of Cheryl. And in fact, I send her pictures when I see them.
Mm-hmm.
I purposely, and I mean, we've had tons of them around this year. It seems perfectly in season for them. And I've seen tons of them. So I actually probably have a camera roll, a dozen or 2 dozen over the past couple of years. I don't even think I send them all to you, because I'm like, oh, she's going to think I'm just a little bit creepy or weird.
Oh, no, everybody does.
Oh, perfect.
And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Me too. Me too. I want to talk more about signs and symbols further in, because I think it's important to talk about it. However, I want to talk about you. How did you get started? So you talked a little bit about it, but you credit your grandma with it, and and talk about that. So how or when did you realize you were psychic?
Well, I actually realized back when I was in grade 5. So I was, I'm the baby of the family. They obviously saved the best for last. And I tell that to my sisters all the time. So there's quite an age gap between my sisters and I, like 6 and 8 years. And so when I was 10, I knew a family member was pregnant. Didn't understand what it meant because I'm 10, but I knew the word pregnant, and I knew that she was pregnant, and I knew I knew that the parents wouldn't be happy. So that was my first inclination. And still didn't, even as it went on, it was just a knowing of things and not understanding, because at the time I was too young. And I knew my grandmother on my dad's side she was cool. She was a lot older than my other grandma, but and at first I think she was kind of scary, which sounds awful. Love her to pieces, Graham. It's okay. So, because she refused to have her hair cut. She said when my parents got married, the hairdresser butchered her hair, so she never cut her hair. So in like 40 years, she did not have a haircut. So we're talking this little Ukrainian baba that would braid her hair, and then she'd like do it up in almost like a coronet. So that was kind of like, it was just a little scary because she always had gray hair, beautiful, like silver gray hair. But she read tea leaves, and I was wowed by it. I was like, that's so cool. So when we had gotten older, I remember taking my boyfriend, now my husband, to meet grandma. And I remember grandma looking in the tea leaves and going, oh, we're going to have an addition to the family. And then she winked at my husband. Unbeknownst to us, my older sister was pregnant with her third, which was a complete shock to everybody, including her. So it was really cool. And it really wasn't until she passed that I learned so much more about her and about my grandfather. He was the seventh son of the seventh son. It was so cool. So cool. And I didn't realize he actually was kidnapped as a baby by gypsies. You hear about these things that are just wild. I just found this out. So he was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed Ukrainian boy in like the Ukraine. And the gypsies, that is very spiritual, and they kidnapped him. And so I was talking to another colleague, and I'm like, I don't know if my grandfather was kidnapped. So I called my one remaining aunt, and she said, yeah, grandpa was kidnapped by gypsies. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But of course spirit would know that.
You can't make that stuff up.
You can't. It's just wild. So yeah. So it just kind of ran down in the family. So and I love it, because whenever I'm honing our craft or training or anything, grandma always pops in to say, hey, how's it going? So yeah.
I love that. And you know what? You and I have that similar story. So in my book, The Last Breath, there's also that's where I tell my story about my connection with my grandma and how she was and how she helped me nurture it as well. So I love that. Like you, my grandma has really guided me in the afterlife, her afterlife, so much more and easier than she could in this lifetime, not having to navigate humanism. So I love that. I love that you speak with her and that she connects with you so much. All hail to grandmas. That's what I think.
Exactly.
Love that. So you talked a little bit about a couple of things there. I want to come back to, what would you say to someone who thinks that they could be psychic?
I would say, of course you are. Of course you are. You just have to, you have to exercise it. You have to use it. You have to develop it. I believe everybody has some psychic ability in it. It's one of our senses. It's just that almost that dulled down sense. So if we're not using it, then it's not like we use it, but it just goes dull and it almost goes dormant. So you gotta, you have to exercise it.
How can
it's so much more fun than the gym.
Oh, isn't it though?
So is.
So what can someone do that's just starting out, might be spiritually curious, or where should they go? What should they do?
Well, if there's a certain, hang on a second, let me restart this. If there's an area that they're drawn to, then do their research. I mean, we're so blessed. We've got the internet. There's so much information, but there's also so much misinformation out there too. So I would have no problem giving suggestions of fellow mediums and psychics that I know that, that offer spiritual classes. You know, find a, find your own circle, find like-minded people that you can grow with. And, when I first really started, I want to say dabbling, I loved the pendulum. And then all of a sudden it was, wasn't that I outgrew the pendulum, but then I learned, then I started to go more into maybe tarot cards, and then oracle, and then really more so into mediumship, and then back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, now I've got my big old crystal ball, so I'm honing that one because it's something new and I think it's cool. So it's just something that really resonates with you, right? If you've got that passion for it, you're going to want to keep going with it and keep learning and just developing yourself with that.
I love that. That's great. Yeah. So keep working on it. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's flip around a little bit here and says, do you have a favorite client and how come?
I have some favorite readings.
Yeah.
One that always sticks with me was in 2016, Fort McMurray had the awful, awful wildfires. And I was actually flying out the day that happened, and know a number of people that unfortunately had lost their homes to that. So I was actually doing an email reading at that time. So just so anyone listening, you can get valid email readings. We don't even have to see you. So the reading, it was at the time I'm typing this out and I'm thinking, this is so corny. Like, come on, Cheryl. And I'm thinking of it's like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. And the word safe kept coming in. And it's like, okay, know that you're safe. And I knew that, literally fleeing the city that they lived in and their home was frightening. And it was just, I'm like, you know what, you're going to have that diamond in the rough. You're going to be safe. And that her relationship was going to, solidify out of these ashes. And just, I did ask her if I could use the example, and she did provide me her approval. And what had ended up happening were, at the time, her and her boyfriend lived together, and they had bought, it was like a fire controlled gun safe almost, if you will. And they couldn't find it. When they were finally allowed back in to search the rubble, basically, they could not find it. So then they were actually on the phone to the company saying, yeah, you lied. And so they finally went back in yet again, and boom, there was the safe. And inside the safe was her engagement ring and her wedding band that her boyfriend had put in there. And hence the rising out of the ashes, the diamond in the rough, and just starting their new life together, literally out of the rubble. And I still get chills about that because it's like, wow, like it was so much symbolism and so many almost euphemisms and the parallels of it all. And it just blew me away. I was like, okay, that's cool. Probably my other favorite one is I love when we do readings for skeptics and we blow them away. So we were, and I believe, Tanya, you were there at the time. This gentleman was there, completely skeptic, really had no use for it. And he's sitting there, and all of a sudden I get this feeling that I have no teeth in my mouth. I had said to him, oh my God, you took your grandfather's false teeth and you put them in your mouth when you were younger. And he looked at me. I said, and then you brushed his teeth with toothpaste so he wouldn't know that you had put them in his mouth. And he was like, oh my God. And it was like, yeah, take them out, because it was bizarre. But yeah, he had done that as a kid and thought that, maybe he wasn't a favorite of his grandfather's, but his grandfather had such love for him. But yeah, he knew that he got into his dentures, which was awesome. Do you remember that one?
I totally remember that because I'm the one that said it was Colgate, not Crest.
Exactly.
And he goes, how do you guys know that? So you were the oh my gosh, yes, I remember that. That was years ago.
Yeah, it was.
We did blow him away.
We totally did. Yep. It
Ooh.
was cold. And back then you think, okay, do we say it? And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to say it. Why not?
And sometimes it just like that trickled out of my mouth. It was almost under my breath and he heard it because I
Mm-hmm.
think I was closest to him. But those seem so random to
Mm-hmm.
us,
Yeah.
truly did. And missing teeth, like, are you kidding me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't make that stuff up. That doesn't come from me.
No, exactly.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
so do I. Those are my favorite. I think those are my favorites. Anytime that, honestly, that you can just, you connect so deeply with spirit that the recipient is just not necessarily in awe of us, but in awe that we were able to connect them with their loved one once again. And that's why I always say that they're with us always. I mean, they don't literally go away as we might have thought when we were younger. So they're always here.
They are always here. I agree with
Mm-hmm.
that 100%. I love that. Oh, so I'm gonna deviate a little bit here. Cheryl, I'm totally gonna probably feel like I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit here, but I'm not. I'm not honest. So I'm gonna just no idea what I'm gonna say. Cheryl, when we first started working together, and what I mean by together is we started taking classes together, and as you say, dabbling and getting into it. Um, when we would have to do group readings together or even individual readings, you were always like the medical medium, and always about health. And are you okay if we go here with that? Is that
Oh,
okay?
yeah, totally. That's
Okay.
fine.
I love it. I love it. So I want to talk about that a little bit because you were always spot on. And I mean, please let me start this with a caveat of we are not doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the first to say that. Ironically enough, that's another lifetime that both Cheryl and I worked in the medical field for a while too. Not as doctors, please hear me out. Administrative staff, directorship type of thing. So, Cheryl, for those people that are listening out there, and you talk about health stuff quite a bit, are you? How do you get that? How do you pick that up?
It's it would come literally, and it would be of, I guess, of aches and pains of the past, so to speak. So it's not necessarily something new, but it would be okay. All of a sudden, I'm getting wicked shin splints, and I don't run, or I haven't run, unless I'm being chased. so it's, so it's like, okay, you're a runner. You've been having some problems with your shins, so that kind of thing. Or it's usually I'll sit down and all of a sudden my knee's killing me, and there's no reason for my knee to be killing me, or my back is killing me. Um, I do get a lot of headaches, but when we're used to them, we know the kind of headaches that we're used to. So these would be different headaches, or just little things like that. It would, the instep would hurt, or yeah, my back's killing me, or yeah, things like that. So
Can I don't even know if you remember this, but are you okay if I tell a story about you?
sure.
You poor girl, we're totally off script here, and this is what I love about being able to do this. So we were again doing group readings together, and it was you had told somebody this, like you had said, my stomach is really upset, and and then other people had chimed in about a couple of things, and that person, and I got to be honest, I was struggling to know if it was male or female. I think it might have been male, but I don't think that's the important part. But coming back, went through like 3 or 4 other people, and basically what happens is when we are demonstrating during a class demonstration, we will talk about, or we each get one thing that we have, and so we have to say a sentence about something and just see if it lands with that person that's in front of all of us. And yours, I think it was actually a male, and yours was, my stomach is really upset and I know it's not mine. And then you guys went forward, and we went forward and we talked about other people, talked to him about stuff, and then he was able to come back with, I think there's 3 questions, or he was able to retort with 3 inquiries, and he came back to you immediately, and he said something along the lines of, Can you tell me more about my stomach or your stomach being upset? And you said it felt like there was like glass shattering, and it felt like razor blades, or like not a stabbing, not like that, but razor blades in your tummy. And he said, you're 100% right. Um, and then you said you feel like a depression. And he said, yeah, because and he's like, out of all of you, he's like, she's the only one I really resonate with. Not that everybody was wrong, but it just resonated the most with you. And he was just diagnosed with stomach cancer.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
That was
that had to have been a long time ago, right?
Very, very long time ago. We both worked with Sonia Chiquette, and it was just before her class that we were on a TV show, and it was just before her class, and it was like the week before, or 2 weeks before, and so it's really earlier on for us.
Wow.
And it was just, that has always stuck out in my head, and that's what I call her, the medical medium. Because I mean, he had aches and pains. He was not a young gentleman, but not that old. I felt like he was maybe turning in his like late 40s, early 50s. So it's not old by any means, but he seemed way older. And he had said that he had, just been diagnosed with stomach cancer, and he talked about it more. And it was a man. It was a man. There was a woman beside him, but there was a man. And how he had said it is, it has aged him. He feels like it has aged him like 20 years. And that's where I went, oh, I understand why he looks so old now. Because I think all of us thought he was way older than what he was.
Right. Actually, now I know exactly who you're talking about.
Good. Perfect. Yeah. I'm glad. It's so funny, the things that we remember and what pops up. And that just came to me, and it was just, I've always thought of that part, but I remember I never ever dived into it deeper. So I'm glad we talked about it. That's good.
See, there you go. I like it because once I can identify what the ache or the pain is, it leaves me, and it's like, okay, I'm good now. Because sometimes it can start the day before, and it's like, really, like, come on.
With you. So with you. Having said that, mediumship for me is not being able to turn it off. However, I turn it down, or I, set up with my spirit guides what that looks like. And it's kind of like a switch, but it's not really. We're always on. It's just how we work with it. How do you manage that?
I think for me, it's about setting boundaries. So, don't be coming to me when I'm trying to sleep. The bathroom is off limits. You're not welcome in there at all. And I find as I grow, I find meditation has been huge. So it's almost like, you know what, I can literally open the door and there you are. Yeah. So that's one, a colleague had used that, and it's like, I love that because it's so true. Before it was almost, well, let's be clear. I'm a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist.
Ooh, all the way, girl.
And type A OCD, which doesn't really work well when you have to surrender with your mediumship. So the meditation has really helped me do that, to like, okay, you know what? It's just like, it is what it is. Whoever's coming in is coming in. I'm working for spirit. I really have no say in the matter. So be it. But yeah, for me, it's okay, boom. Who's here? And I still get, I still have the feels that, okay, I automatically can feel when spirit comes in still.
I love that. That feels good. What's your favorite modality? So even if you have one, maybe you don't. Tarot, mediumship?
I do love my tarot. I love tarot.
And guys, she's damn good at it, let me tell you. I've been read by her.
It can be scary, but now, once you really learn it, I find it really tells the story. And actually, tarot or oracle, the cards never lie, ever. Whether or not the recipient is open or can tie the two together. I do love tarot just because you've got, you have, you know, your people, you have the day-to-day, you have the big life events. And the oracle, I find, is almost the less scarier part. It's more of the psychic, more of the soul to soul kind of, really, I don't want to call it softer, but maybe, yeah, maybe it's the softer side of psychic intuition. There, I'm just going to coin a new phrase.
I like it. I like it.
So yeah, I love tarot, just because um, even I remember I was reading my sister, and I flipped over some cards, and the next future card was the Three of Swords.
Oh.
I was like, ooh, geez, that's not good.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, and I knew, I was like, okay, it's got something to do with some kind of contract, something signing, and thinking, oh, you're gonna have a difficult client. Unbeknownst, the client was me. It's like, okay, I'm like, oh, Cheryl, like, the cards never lie. So even though some of the really scary cards, like, you know, if you throw down death, okay, some people, when they see that card coming up, it's like, oh, what's going on? And it's like, you know what, that's not a bad thing to me. Like, it's change. What needs to change? And there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and it shows light in almost every tarot card on death you see. There's always light there. So it's just really, I guess, humanizing that spiritual existence through the cards. So yeah, I'd say it would be tarot.
Good. I never fear the death card. My card is always the Tower.
Oh. But you know what? It's just, you know what? You break it down, you build it back up.
100%.
Yeah.
And I agree. I love change. I love progression. I think my biggest thing is, if you're going to tell me I'm going to have to tear down this whole entire thing and start again, that feels too hard. Not that I'm not always up for a challenge. And I jest a little bit here, and yet as soon as I see the Tower card, that's when I cringe. I see the Death card, I'm like, hell yeah. So nothing to be afraid of there, guys. Let's talk about, there is a difference between psychic and mediumship, to be clear. And you do both. And so when somebody comes to you and they say they want a tarot card reading, and you're pulling mediumship, they have not said that you can't, they've given you permission to do whatever, because you're coming for a reading. How do you manage that for them when they don't want to, because I guess, let me back up. What's your definition of the difference between psychic and mediumship?
Psychic for me is soul to soul. So I'm reading, you as a person. Mediumship is I'm getting help. I'm getting messages from your loved ones that have crossed over, or the loved ones of someone you know that might not have anything to do with you, but you're the conduit. So helping them receive those messages, and just really reinforcing that, that there is life after death. And it's just, it's awesome. It's fabulous. And I will always ask, if spirit steps forward, are you okay with it? Because if they're not okay with it, then okay, I won't. But that's been very few and far between, because chances are, if spirit steps forward, they really need to say something. So I have to honor that. And if I'm doing spirit steps forward, it's like, okay, hang on a second, we got someone coming in. It's like, okay, we got to talk about this, we got to do this, and then just go on from there. And there's been many times that, okay, it's like, oh, okay, time's almost up, but I still want to finish, the tarot might not be completely finished, and I want to finish that for them too. But I also have to respect what spirit wants.
100%. I agree. I like that analogy for sure. For you, okay, so I'm gonna talk about a little bit backwards here. Not backwards. I'm always, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. For me, I'm the same way as you when it comes to doing that. So I want to talk about an example that I have of asking permission. And so I said that I always ask permission as well. I think we're both trained that way. And it's, I'm doing this tarot card reading or oracle card reading, and So then I had this client, I asked permission for this, and she's like, I don't want to talk to dead people. I don't want, like, I'm scared. And I was like, okay, no problem. So no dead people, that's fine. I mean, her dad comes through and he's honestly running the whole show. So I'm reading her cards, and then he's going, like, tell her this, tell her this, tell her that, kind of, like, why aren't you? He's giving me signs and symbols all day long. And then at the very end, she says to me, did anybody come through for me? Oh, are you kidding me? Like, you got to keep composure.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I really want, oh my God, he has so many messages for you. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And her hour is up. Like, oh, no, I just said, do you know what? Honestly, your dad has been here the whole time. And then she just starts crying. She says, I was so scared he wouldn't come through, so I didn't ask. But girl, you asked him to come through the whole time. You told him, you called him in before you got here. Like, trust that, he's coming through for sure, 100%. And so I was trying to relay her message and trying to be respectful for her about this. And so I ended up going a little bit longer over that reading and just telling her everything Dad said. It was beautiful. And she now comes back to me quite regularly for stuff. And she's like, oh, she's the real deal.
Well,
Yes.
you need that closure, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. Is I know when this kind of all unfolded for me, really, I had a lot of loss in the family at the time, and I was really like, what is going on? And then it was, okay, they've moved on to another dimension, so to speak, and I can't see them every day, but they're always with me, always, no matter what. And it's comforting.
It is, isn't it? It's very
Mm-hmm.
comforting. How do you feel about, so for me, I always think when somebody passes away, I'm like, oh, good for you. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to say that in a mean way. I'm happy for the person that has crossed over, because now they're back in pure love and light, and there's no hardness to them. There's no ego. There's no all the emotions that we feel here, our own purgatory. How do you manage that? Like, are you anything like me, where I feel sorry for the people that that are
Mm-hmm.
still here, the human of us, and
Mm-hmm.
yet it's hard at a funeral, because part of me, I get it, and especially in my own case when I've lost people. How do you manage that? Because you're going, sweet, see, good for you.
It sounds, some people might think it's morbid. I am so excited for them.
Right?
I was actually, I was on the phone doing a reading, and the recipient was at the hospital with their grandmother who was transitioning. Okay? So all of a sudden you've got the recipient, her mother, and her grandmother in bed. On the other side, you have everybody and their dog that's ever passed in the family going, come on, let's go, let's go. And I was get goosebumps again. And it's like, okay, one side we've got, we have the tears and whatnot. We also have the tears of joy on the other side, because it's like, I haven't seen, we haven't seen each other for so long, and now I'm finally going to see each other. And they don't cross alone. There's always somebody there to help pull them over, to say, okay, you know what, we missed you. So it's I'm excited for them. I really want to, I think, help those that are behind, just to move. I don't want to say get over it, or get past, but just to move through the grief, because they always say, what, the depth of our grief equals the depth of our love and whatnot. And it's that love never ever dies. So
No,
just
no.
helping them.
I'm glad I'm not alone. I know, and I've talked to quite a few psychics that say the same thing. We really have to, and we are in the transition and transformation. I strongly believe in what we do, obviously, and sometimes it is hard to stay in this plane when really we just want to, we have the ability to go see them on the other side, and connect with them there, whereas not everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
Although it's possible, everybody can. Don't always need a psychic medium for that.
No,
Okay.
that's true.
What are you working on now? What do you got up your sleeve these days?
Well, doing some class development. So did a beginner's pendulum workshop in the summer. So I'm working on doing an advanced one now, so a little more in depth. And then also actually just different modalities of scrying. So
Oh,
so whether it's the candle wax and water, the flame, the mirror, or even the crystal ball, or even just like literally the glass of water. So those kind of things. So just working on a class for that. So that will be coming probably later this fall.
nice. So
Mhm.
for those people that don't know what that is, can you talk about that a little bit more?
It's good question. So Hollywood always portrays mediums or fortune tellers. They're looking over the crystal ball and the images come up. And I mean, to be quite honest, no, I've never seen, Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz going through crystal ball, but I have seen literally an in utero fetus. And I knew that it was a girl, and I knew that it was connected to this one person. And actually, the baby girl was just born last week. So
Nice.
that
Love it.
was my first one. And at first, it's like you really stare. It's almost like those 3D pictures. At least I think they're called 3D pictures, where you have to stare at the one, and then just you'll see pictures will start to evolve. That's kind of what it is. So there's different mediums. I like the crystal ball, the water, the candle wax, those kind of things that can show you pictures. Tea leaves also will show pictures. So, and it's just again a different modality. That's another thing that I'm working on too. So is just learning it a little more, because grandma keeps coming in and saying you need to learn tea leaves. Okay. So,
Actually, that doesn't surprise me. We did. So Cheryl and I both belong to a master psychic circle together, and we've been practicing in our, I guess you call it coven, on our tribe together for definitely over 10 years. And so each of us, it's peer-to-peer learning, and each of us, it's a beautiful mastermind, really. Each of us brings forward something that we're good at, and we teach it to the rest of each other. And you had brought forward tea leaf reading, and this was years ago, actually. And I remember doing it with you, and I thought, oh, this is such a cool. I am not a tea leaf reader. Please don't message me and ask me for a tea leaf reading. I'm going to send you to Cheryl.
okay. Give me some time.
Exactly. But you had it nailed. You were great with it, and doing it with us, and it was so much fun.
It's something super easy. I remember in high school, we had a place outside. I grew up outside of Edmonton, and there was, actually, I think it was literally called the Tea House. It's not in existence anymore. And we would always go there for tea, always get our tea leaves read, and it was always bang on, always. And I was like, that's so cool. So it was something, okay, let's do this. Oh yeah, that's one of the things. There's so many different signs and symbols, and again, there's that symbolism, and it attracts me to that, just because you can't dispute it. It's right there.
I love that. So you mentioned signs and symbols again, and I wanted to come back to that. You and I both heavily believe in signs and symbols. I ask for signs and symbols all the time. Can you walk somebody through how you do it? How do you, and you did mention a couple of smaller examples, but how can somebody sitting at home listening to this, how can they ask for a sign or a symbol?
It's so easy. So let me tell you a little story. So my oldest sister, she calls me up one day. She's like, can you ask mom and dad? I mean, first, my mom and dad they passed 10 years ago. Can you ask mom and dad if it's a good idea for us to move to this town? And I said, really? Like, why don't you ask them yourselves? Well, what am I supposed to say? I said, okay, well, you're looking at somewhere, let's say it was like centralish British Columbia, where, you know, all the fruit trees and everything. So what do you identify with that? Do you identify, like, my instinct would be to go like peachland or peaches. And she's like, well, she goes, okay, cherries. And I said, okay, well then, you know what, mom and dad, if this, you know, if this would be a good move for me to move here, then show me cherry or cherries, whether it's in the word, whether it's in a picture, whether it's in a sentence. And she's like, really? I'm like, really? She goes, okay. And I'm like, all right, well, let me know how that goes for you. So 4 hours later, I kid you not, she calls me up, she's in a meeting, and somebody comes in because they want to show them the new cherry hardwood that they've just picked out for their
Oh
new
my
home.
God.
And I'm like, there's your sign. So it's honestly, it's just, you just need to ask it. And for me, I mean, yes, the sunflowers are a staple, but there's also random things too. And yes, we're in, like, right now it's fall, sunflowers are everywhere. There's a lot of construction where I live, and I was coming off one of the main drags, and I don't know if you remember the sunflower farm that used to be there. Okay, well, that's all gone now because they're just developing it for transit and whatnot. So I was, I think it was just shortly after I got your invitation to be on the podcast, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to go in another direction, and I was talking about my website, then, you know what, show me sunflowers. And I turned the corner, and again, we're talking backhoes, I don't know, all the construction equipment, there's lots of equipment, and there's honestly one solid little row of sunflowers. I drive by there at least twice a week, haven't ever seen them. All of a sudden up they were, and I was like, huh, imagine that. It's like, okay, of course. So just, yeah, just, it's almost like little synchronicities. So it's, you just have to ask. For me, it's sunflowers. For some people, it could be dragonflies. Oh, I said to one lady, I said, there's dragonflies around you, you know, and it was actually a girlfriend of hers. And she goes, really? Because they've been hitting my window all day long. I thought there was a nest. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they don't nest, but obviously they're trying to get your attention. So it was pretty cool. So yeah, you just have to ask. It can be as off the top, off the cuff as you want. It just has to mean something to you. So
I agree. I put a frame around it because I always say within the next 24 hours or next 12 hours. And I also am cognizant that some things take time. And so the simple questions, I will frame it as, and just so my most recent ones, funny enough, has been unicorns and doves.
hey,
Right. And because I'm not a proponent of unicorns in that way, I believe
no, you're
everybody's
not.
no. I'm as what's the word? Direct and honest as it gets, and unicorns are not real. And so I get the euphemism of you know, a unicorn, be unique. I get that. And doves, how often do you see doves? You know,
Right.
those are not really symbol. So my symbol for that is, if it's a yes, if it's a hell yes, because I go on hell yeses. If it's a hell yes, it is show me a unicorn in the next 24 hours. If it is an absolute no, show me 2 doves. And it has to be within the next 24 hours. So recently, I had something pop up and I was like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm at the end of my rope. If I need to continue, I'm very specific with my questioning. If I'm to continue, show me unicorns, and not just one, show me more. So careful what you ask for. And then the flip side, I said, if it's not meant to be and I need to take a different way, just like you said, please show me 2 doves, just 2 white doves. That's all I need to see. And they're not completely unheard of. They can happen. So I leave my house and I go to the store, and I'm walking through the store, and there's these colorful things, and I'm going, what the heck is that? And it's these light up unicorn plastic things. I'm like, I can't make this. Okay. Not good enough. Not good enough. Because this is a doozy of a decision I need to make. So 10, 20 minutes later go by, and I'm back home, and I'm doing an interview. I'm doing a interview with another podcast, and the person I'm talking to, her daughter comes in, and she's like, "I'm so sorry, it popped up," and she's wearing a unicorn headband, and I thought, okay, I'm getting the picture here. I'm getting the picture. So then I was like, okay, leave this alone. I'm gonna go out. My nephews are here. I'm gonna go hang out with them. And so I go to the park, and I thought, there can't be unicorns here. There's this little girl there. She's with her dad. Dad and I start chatting. Perfect. She's wearing a cute little shirt. It does not have unicorns on it. I thought, okay, that's good. It's a girly shirt. It's cute. And then all of a sudden, she's going to they have this little pull wagon that they have. And he's like, "What are you doing, little girl?" Like his daughter. And she's like, "I want to show this lady this." And I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." And so he starts telling me she found these sandals in this park 10 minutes before we got here, and she wants to take them home, and there's no other kids in the park. And he said, "We saw him here yesterday, and I told her that if it's okay, good, I told her that if she, if we came back today, we would have a look and try and see if we can't find them."
Mm-hmm.
And so sure enough, she pulls them out to show me. And on the insole of each little sandal, it says 2 unicorns.
Oh,
And I'm
awesome.
like, fine, I get it. Thank you. I get it. So this is how signs and symbols go. Be clear, be, what that looks like, be honest. And over the next 48, 50, 60 hours, I still saw no doves. And then just to hammer it home, I was like, okay, I got it. I feel it. Okay, I'm going to continue on this path that I'm on. The next day again, some random guy he's like, it was on not podcast, a summit I was on. And he says, "Well, we can't all be rainbows and unicorns." And I thought, this guy is totally professional. That's not how he talks.
Mm-hmm.
And I even said to him, "What did you just say?" And so I have to believe it. I mean, I've always believed in signs and symbols.
Because it's like the 5th or 6th unicorn that's come by within like 24 hours.
Exactly. Queen skeptic here. I'm all about it. I get it. I feel you. And I don't see unicorns very often normally.
No, I don't either.
So for all of you that believe that signs and symbols aren't real, I dare you to ask for a sign or symbol and believe that you'll get either to go one way or another. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. Okay, Miss Cheryl, are you open to doing a couple of readings?
Of course I am.
Of course you are. So in full transparency, I sent Cheryl some questions at the very beginning of when I asked her to come on the podcast. And I'm also always, like every other podcast, I also say, here's 4 names, get what you get, and I only give the first 4 first names. You can verify that. Now, here's the thing. I deviate from the questions I like today, totally off the cuff. And I just love where we go with stuff. And so the same thing, I give her those 4 names, and if it's anything like Maria's, then she went nothing off of those. She's like, I get nothing, so it's totally fine. So I leave it up to the psychic medium, or the psychic or the medium, to decide what works best for them. So I'm going to give you these 4 names, and you are going to give me what you get. And if it's lands somewhere else, by all means, let us know. Okay. And so the first name I have for you is Stacy.
Okay. So the first thing I'm getting is actually like slow and steady wins the race. I feel like now is the time for Stacy to really just kind of step back and enjoy rather than rushing through things. I feel like she needs to really pay attention about what's around her and pick up on these clues. It feels like she's the success is right there for her, but everything's going by in a blur. So she just needs to take a step back and just almost relax and enjoy it. It's these things that she's doing, she does do them one step at a time, and it's not necessarily a hurdle. It's what's the word I'm thinking of? It's the opposite of a hurdle. it's, it's a stepping stone, and I feel like there's really awesome things around the corner for her. She just has to slow it down a little bit and just breathe. Just take a breath. Does that make sense?
For her, yeah, 100%. She does run 100 miles a minute.
Okay,
I
cool.
think she was
Awesome.
Virgo, but she's actually Aries.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Spoken like a true Virgo.
Right? And
Okay.
Aries. It's all good.
Okay.
Miss
Awesome.
Jennie, Jennie.
Oh, it's spelled differently. Sorry. I'm just gonna ask you to stop for 1 second. Okay, so Jenny with an IE, not to be confused with Jenny on the block.
That's right.
Okay, super resilient, super adaptable. I'm feeling like go deep. So almost like move past the things that are right at the surface to actually go deep. And I feel like meditating will really, really help her. I feel she's looking for her truth, and she's got all these questions. She needs to go deeper. It's not a surface level. And once she goes that little bit deeper, she's actually going to, sounds corny. It's almost like find her true purpose. She knows what she wants. She's wanting the validation for it. And she needs to go deep within herself because what she wants might be a little bit different than what she thinks she wants. But it's right. She already has the answers.
I like that. And I think that would actually resonate for her, especially with her career. So that's good.
Cool.
Love that.
Cool.
Miss Mary.
Oh, Mary, quite contrary.
Exactly.
So that's the first thing that comes to mind. So I feel like she's almost in a quandary about growing or expanding a business. And I feel like, don't doubt yourself. She's very competent. She needs clear boundaries. And I feel like there's clear boundaries between her and somebody else. So it's knowing that she doesn't automatically roll into someone else, that she is her own person, and to use her past experience to guide her forward, because she has all the answers she needs, and she can achieve anything that she wants to. She's got to set her mind to it. She's very competent, and I feel like she's, if she isn't already, she's just setting herself up for huge success.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yes, I can agree with that. Okay. All right, one more. Miss Val.
Okay. Okay, I know I used the word resilient, but I'm going to use adaptable. So I feel like Val has come through some obstacles, and she adapts so well to them. And I think the key with her is she has learned to flow around the obstacle. Why recreate the wheel? Why reinvent it? Again, it's one step at a time. And why wouldn't you take the easy route? I know we always think, okay, well, why should I take the easy route? Why wouldn't you? When it comes to this, I see almost like a mountain, and it's like, oh, how am I going to get up? Well, look, you've already had a path, and there's the rocks with the river running right around it, smoothing it down. So you don't need to go on the jagged side and hang from a cliff. Take the easy road. And I think that's keeping in mind, no matter what, if there are obstacles ahead, she'll have no problem like transversing them and getting around them. She just she has to believe it. The path is already there for her. She's already done that, so it's tried and true. She knows what she needs to do.
I couldn't agree more. 100%. She's actually one of my mentees, and the girl's got it. The girl has it down pat. So I love that. So thank you for that. Are you open to doing just one more?
Sure.
Tiana.
Tiana. Okay. So with Tiana, I'm actually, what automatically popped in my head was actually a major arcana card from the tarot, which is the moon. So when I see the moon card, it can also be, okay, there could be hidden truths. It could be cyclic. Sorry, and it's it's coming in through there. So like in life, we've got, okay, you have your beginning, you have your end. It's that cycle. I feel like this next, and we just actually had a full moon too. So this next month, there's some major stuff going on with her. So I feel she's going to feel like she's going to finally put to bed what she needs to. And does that make sense?
Oh my God,
And
so much so.
It's almost like she is going to be able to ask that unanswered question. So put it out there, and it feels like, even like with the moon again, you've got, okay, there's some hidden things that she might not be seeing, but it's I know what I'm trying to say. Even though things might not be as they seem, she's got the know-how and the foresight to look at that and actually call a spade a spade. So she'll be able to put that to bed, and I want to say kick it out the door. If that makes any sense.
Actually, even more that you just said kick out the door. That's actually very, very pivotal for her.
Okay.
And so, Tiana, when you're listening to this, I understand a little bit more, and it really makes sense, the cyclical and all that kind of stuff. And kicking it out the door is going to make a lot of sense for her, and it resonates 100%.
And it's, you know what, Halloween is just jumping in. So I don't know, I know she's going to have a fun Halloween, but I honestly, I can see, and it's not that she's the witch, but I see the good witch going across the front of the moon. It's like you've got it, you have it all.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Good.
Awesome.
I'm going to turn the tables a little bit. Are you open to having your grandma come through?
Sure.
So
I'm always open to grandma.
Right? I just had this feeling, and guys, this isn't scripted. I just had this feeling as you were giving those readings, your grandma pops into me and says, this is what you should be doing more of. And so I don't know if that's on target or whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like you need to be, okay, so here's how she puts it into my head. So guys, just so you understand, how she came to me is just signs and symbols and a feeling of grandma-like. I know it's not mine. And
Mm-hmm.
and then when you ask, I know it's hers. So I have had the experience of reading or having Cheryl's grandma come forward before in readings as well. How she makes me feel is that you're pulling one of these cards, like I have this is the oracle, but when you're
Mm-hmm.
pulling a card and you're going, great, so here is the moon card, and
Mm-hmm.
it's tarot, specifically tarot.
Mm-hmm.
Here is the moon. Now here's what it's all about in regards to the moon. And then you're voicing this. Oh, it feels like you need to do more lives. You need to do more.
Okay.
There's something about that. Ooh,
Okay.
that feels good. I like that. Oh,
And I will actually be doing more lives.
perfect.
More lives, dead or alive.
Right?
So,
well, we have done Dinner with the Dead, Spirit with,
we have.
Dinner
We
with
really
Spirit.
have.
All those other ones too. So why not add more? Do you know what, Cheryl? You know what? We had so much fun doing group readings, and it just brought back for me. Would you be open to doing a group reading with you and I? And what I'm referring to as a demonstration.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the short term, we'll work out between you and I, and we'll figure out a time that we can hop on live with everybody.
Cool.
And we'll do demonstrations for everybody. And what that
Awesome.
entails, for those of you that don't know, is, just doing mediumship for people and calling in like spirit, and then them coming forward, and then we're giving readings for people that way. Totally open?
Totally open.
Awesome. All right. We'll definitely hook that up. Cheryl, thank you so much for being here. You're such a wonderful, happy, sunshiny existence. I love chatting with you, whether we're off or on the recording. You're so much fun. And thank you again so much for being on with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was definitely my pleasure.